Hi everyone, Kate here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a lipstick from the Edwardian era. I've been on the hunt for a historical recipe for a while now, but the problem with a lot of antique lipstick recipes is that they either include ingredients that are no longer considered safe, or they contain ingredients that are just really hard to find nowadays, some rare botanicals and other ingredients. So I was very excited when I found this recipe in a 1907 issue of the Druggist Circular. This recipe seemed not only relatively simple, but the ingredients were also very easy to source. It's almost more of a tinted lip balm, but it certainly does give some color. You can definitely tell when I'm wearing it and when I'm not. Despite staying relatively true to the original recipe, I did have to make just a couple of substitutions. The first one is pretty obvious, and that's switching the spermaceti for the jojoba oil. These two liquid waxes are actually quite similar to one another, and I often use this as a substitution, as we obviously don't want to be using whale products anymore. I'm pretty sure spermaceti was slightly thicker than the jojoba oil, so I've added just a teensy bit more beeswax to make up for that. The other major change I made was to the colorant. The original lipstick was intended to be pigmented with carmine, which is one of those products that, again, I prefer not to use. Carmine was one of the most popular pigments in the Edwardian era, and it was often used in combination with ammonia to extract the color. You can still purchase carmine, but it's quite expensive, and many people have a problem with the fact that it's made from ground beetles. I personally have a weird phobia of dead bugs. Not living bugs. I am fine with bugs if they're alive, but dead bugs creep me out. So for that reason, and the fact that I prefer just not to use that kind of animal or insect product in general, I did not use carmine in this recipe. It also requires extraction using ammonia, which I mean is possible in a way that the ammonia is not in the final product, but it's definitely more complicated than what I'm doing here today. This change does of course mean that my lipstick may be a slightly different shade of red than the original was intended to be. The only other little change I made to this recipe is that I decreased the amount it made overall, as the original made of like 7 ounces or something. That's a lot of lipstick. This batch makes about enough for maybe 3 or 4 lip balm tubes. I use proper lipstick tubes, so mine are a little bit smaller than your standard lip balm tube. So my recipe made about 3 full tubes and 3 half tubes, because as I said, the volume's a little smaller, but I'm pretty sure it would make about 3 regular size lip balm tubes. Or 4, if you had extra. For this recipe, you will need almond oil, jojoba oil, beeswax, pigment, calcium carbonate, and some essential oil. Start by weighing out 8 grams of almond oil, 2 grams of jojoba oil, and 2.6 grams of beeswax. Melt this using your preferred method. I did mine in a double boiler, but you could also use a microwave. Once the beeswax is fully melted, it's time to add the pigment. For the first shade, I used 1/32 of a teaspoon each of calcium carbonate and 2 shades of red iron oxide. This gives a lovely natural deep red shade. That is the one I'm wearing right now. For the second batch, I decided to try 1/8 of a teaspoon of the brighter of the red iron oxides and eliminate the calcium carbonate completely. I wanted to try this because the calcium carbonate in the original recipe is used as a medium of getting the pigment into the lipstick. You stain the calcium carbonate with ammonia that's been soaked with carmine, and then you grind the calcium carbonate again and add it to the lipstick, and that is how the pigment gets into the lipstick. Because I wasn't using carmine, I wondered if it's even necessary or if it was going to be needed to add opacity to the lipstick. For the last shade, I used 1/8 a teaspoon of mica and 0.2 grams of calcium carbonate. This one actually wasn't as successful as the other two. I would not recommend using mica by itself. I've tried this before in lipstick recipes and it never seems to work. It looks good in the tube. It does not look good on the lips. You could, however, combine a mica with an iron oxide. You might be able to get a greater shade range this way, as well as adding in perhaps some gold mica for a bit of shimmer. This isn't quite as historically accurate, but it could make quite a pretty lipstick if that's all you're really after. I evenly poured the lipstick base over the 3 pigments, which I had in separate bowls, and then mix together using a mini spatula. I find using a mini spatula really helps with pigment distribution versus using a spoon or a stir stick or something like that. You're more likely to get clumps of pigment that way, whereas the spatula kind of smushes them out and blends it evenly into the lipstick base. As the wax will start to harden relatively quickly, it's helpful to set the bowls into some just boiled water to keep the mixture soft enough to work with. The original lipstick was perfumed, although it doesn't specify scent, so you could add a drop or 2 of essential oil at this point to help replicate that. I think peppermint would be a really nice choice, as would a rose essential oil, which is probably the more historically accurate choice. I was going to put a drop or 2 of peppermint oil in mine, and I forgot. I just forgot. So, mine are unscented. Oh well. Finally, I packed the product into my lipstick tubes. I like these mini black lipstick tubes as they make application much easier than with a normal lip balm container, and they don't require a lipstick mold to work. However, they are a bit tricky to pack. I find it best to let the lipstick semi-solidify and then press it into the tubes, rather than pouring it in while it's still liquid. This is a bit messy, so you do want to have some paper towel on hand, or you will end up with lipstick everywhere. Now, all that's left to do is clean up and let the lipstick set overnight. I was pleasantly surprised with how much I love this lipstick. It doesn't have that heavy feeling that lipstick usually has. It really feels much like a lip balm and very moisturizing, so I think I'm more likely to wear this on a day-to-day basis than I would a normal lipstick. In terms of how long it lasts on the lips, sort of like a tinted lip balm, maybe a little bit longer. I've worn mine for a few hours at a time and the color's still there. They don't look particularly patchy. They probably wouldn't last through eating and drinking. I haven't actually tried that. I always remove any lip product before I eat or drink. But I would think, given the texture, that they wouldn't withstand that. However, just regular talking, regular wear. As I said, I've worn them for a few hours and they've been fine, surprisingly enough. I expected them to actually perform a lot poorer than they did. The only one I didn't like was the version I tried with the mica, and that had quite patchy color right off the bat. I don't know if it really shows up on camera as much as in person, but you definitely don't have an even pigmentation of the lips. As I said before, you could use mica in combination with an iron oxide if you did want to use the mica, but I wouldn't use it just by itself, even though it looks really pretty in the tube. Disappointment. I don't know why it's a disappointment. I knew it was going to work when I did it. Some people never learn. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's makeup recipe. Please let me know down in the comments if you try this recipe or if you have any other makeup recipe suggestions that you want me to make in the future. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye! This video is made possible through the generous support of my Patreon members. Thank you.